pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hot potato, hot potato.
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 Thank you for tuning in for WCES. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow with Power Panthers 5. Remember, Panthers, dream big and aim high.
Be the Change, a Grandfather Gandhi story by Arun Gandhi and Bethany Hegedus. The world knows him as Mahatma, great soul. To me, he is grandfather. Life at the Sevagram Ashram, grandfather's service village, revolved around the sun. Before daybreak, we left our beds. All 350 followers gathered for the morning prayer meeting. Peace descended on us like the rays of the sun. All religions were welcome. The purpose of ashram life was to live simply and nonviolently. Each day was filled, from sunrise to sunset, with service. The ashram worked as one, washing clothes, planting vegetables, picking fruit, spinning yarn. Anything that needed doing was done for the good of all. Grandfather had dubbed our work Experiments in Truth. There were 11 vows of ashram living. The one I found the hardest was the vow not to waste. And it was an important one, a cornerstone of Grandfather's teachings. I wasn't sure how not wasting food or other items made life nonviolent, but I did my best to follow the path put before me. Bapuji said I would understand in time, but I had already lived at Sevagram for more than a year. Soon, Grandfather asked that I accompany him to Pune. I was happy to get the break from ashram life, from waking early and working hard. But at the Nature Cure Clinic, our routine was much the same. The same vows, the same self-discipline. When Grandfather talked, thousands came, overflowing the gardens. People young and old spilled into the streets. I stood with them and listened as he spoke about satyagraha, positive, passive nonviolence. When nonviolence is accepted as the law of life, it must pervade the whole being and not be applied to isolated acts. Bapuji said, "How was I to understand that? It hurt my head to even think about." Yet, when Grandfather spoke, something in me stilled, even if afterward my thoughts grew cloudy. One afternoon on my way home from lessons, I'd had enough. As I walked, I tossed my nubby pencil in the air, tired of my vow not to waste, tired of not understanding. It bounced into the grass. I left it there, on purpose. That evening, I asked Bapuji for a new pencil. "This morning, you had what appeared to be a perfectly good pencil," Grandfather said. "It was too small. I threw it away," I argued. I didn't share what I was really thinking. I was a Gandhi. Didn't I deserve a new pencil? "It was not too small this morning," Grandfather smiled his toothless grin. "And what's of your vow?" "The one not to waste?" I stared at my sandaled feet. A vow is a promise to yourself before it is one to others. "Why is a nubby pencil so important?" I asked. "It is not the pencil, but you that is important. Bapuji patted my shoulder. Bapuji was talking in riddles. Why wasn't there a simple explanation? He walked me to the door. You will have to go and look for it. But I really have to search for a nub of a pencil? But it's after dusk. Good thinking, Arun. You will need a torch. He handed me a flashlight and pointed me toward the night. I set off into the dark. My face burned with shame. Grandfather had already taught me so much, and here I had more to learn. I was a disappointment. To him, to myself. I retraced my steps past the bench with the broken leg, past the pack of stray dogs. I stopped when I came to the scrubby grass that I'd cut across hours earlier. Kneeling, I ran my fingers through the coarse stalks. Nothing. Above, the stars seemed to mock me. Find it! Find it! They twinkled, taunting. Finally, after hours of searching, I found it. I stuffed the pencil in my pocket and trudged back to Grandfather's cottage. Did you recover the pencil? Bapuji asked when I returned. I had, but I still hadn't discovered what waste and nonviolence had to do with each other, or what they had to do with me. That night I wrestled with my thoughts. How could throwing away a pencil hurt anyone? It made no sense. Why couldn't I understand? We returned to Sevgram. There, Grandfather set out to teach me the deeper meaning of the rule not to waste, just as the monsoon season had come. The skies erupted. For days on end, the rains beat the dry, cracked ground. The earth became messy and muddy as I struggled with how waste and nonviolence were connected. Grandfather sat with me for an hour a day, as busy as he was. Waste is a violent action. When resources are low, people hoard. Those who are forced to do without may eventually strike out. Fighting occurs, he said. Did you want any of that when you threw away your pencil? I didn't. Is this why we spun? Why we made our own cloth? Grandfather suggested I make a tree of violence, with violence as the trunk and physical violence and passive violence, the kind that looks like it hurts no one as the branches. Before you act, think how it would affect others, he said. Who would it hurt? You? Someone else? The earth? Does hurting the earth hurt us? Together we created a tree and pasted it on the wall. Each day, I added my thoughts and actions to it. Grandfather would come by my hut and he'd watch my tree grow. When I wasn't sure where to place something, he helped me decide if the thought or action was passive violence or physical violence. As the monsoon rains renewed the earth, my tree grew and grew. Both branches were heavy with leaves, but the passive side became enormous. Soon, I could see how throwing away my pencil could hurt others. More graphite would be needed to be mined for a new pencil. Trees would be cut down, land would be stripped bare, villages would be lost. Were my wants, like the one for a new pencil, more important than the needs of others? I saw how kicking and shoving led to rioting. I saw how violence led to more violence. How wars led to more wars. Like the soaking rains that turned the musty earth lush and green, new growth finally sprouted in me. I was responsible for my every thought and action. Yes, but I was also responsible for the thoughts and actions of the world. To change the world, I needed to change myself. As the rains trickled to an end and the sun returned, Grandfather took my hand. We walked amid the hustle of the ashram life, new planting, chores, prayers, and work. Grandfather had a saying. He had said it to many, and now he said it to me. Be the change you wish to see in the world, Arun. And with grandfather as an example of being the change for himself and others, I would. Be the change pledge. I pledge to dig deep to understand passive violence, to find the roots of my thoughts and actions. I pledge to not overuse resources, to focus on my needs over my wants. I pledge to learn to work with others as one for the good of all. I pledge to be the change I wish to see in the world.